Good afternoon. It's just after 12, so it is afternoon now. Welcome to the first class in CH 5028, building towards a career in chemical industry. How many of you are BTechs? And any dual degree, MTech? It's interesting. Originally, this course was designed for MTechs. We thought they would find the course to be of most interest because, at least the statistics say, most of our MTechs wind up in industry, predominantly core industry, whereas our BTechs don't. But I'm glad to see that a lot of BTechs are also interested in this course, and I hope for the right reasons. The right reason is that you are actually interested in considering a career in industry, especially chemical industry. The wrong reason is you have heard from your seniors that this is a cool course and you don't have to do a lot of work and you'll get a grade. So either way, there is you're welcome to the course. With any course, you get out of it what you put into it. And so if you really want to learn something about getting yourself ready for employability in chemical industry, you will learn a lot. If you're here just to have a cool time, I guess you'll do that also. So whatever your objectives are for signing up for this course, I'm sure they will be served. Mr. M.S. Srinivasan is my co-instructor for this course. He is one of our industry relations officers with ICSR. The first one, actually, I recruited him to that role, and since then we have hired a few more, but he has a lot of experience in industry and more recently working with academia as well. So this course again is to give you some gyan about industry, particularly chemical industry, Indian chemical industry, global chemical industry, and what it takes to be recruited into this industry and what it takes to be successful as an employee in this industry. So before I start describing the course itself, just want to provide a little bit of background for myself, and then Mr. Srinivasan will do also when he comes up here. I have spent 15 years in industry before joining IIT Madras, not in India. I was with IBM San Jose in the US, and of course IBM is a microelectronics industry, but they employ a lot of chemical engineers. So one thing you will find is that wherever there are processes, chemical engineers are in demand, because it's only the chemical engineering curriculum that really deals with all aspects of processes, from process design, process analysis, process control, process optimization, what else? Process modeling. So we are very, very well trained in all aspects of processes, and it doesn't have to be a chemical process, right? Virtually any process. In fact, one of my first conversations when I joined IBM was with the manager in their software labs who happened to be a chemical engineer. So I was asking him why he took that position or why IBM hired him for that position, and he said coding is a process, and IBM thinks if you're well trained, you can manage any process optimally. And apparently chemical engineers are in a lot of demand simply for their process management skills. So anyway, so I was doing that for 15 years. So that was my industry background, and then I came here and joined IIT Madras in 2004. And since then also I have had significant interactions with industry, a lot of consultancy projects, sponsored research projects, and I personally find industry very easy to work with, very pleasant to work with, probably because of the time I have spent in industry. So hopefully a lot of the things that I will be saying in these classes are based on my personal experience. So they are somewhat authenticated in that sense. And similarly, Mr. Srinivasan has spent a lot of time with Indian industry, and I'm sure that he also knows what he speaks of, right? It's not, what we are going to talk about is not just book knowledge, but actually based on our personal experiences in industry. So hopefully these lectures will prove to be of value to you. So the way the course is designed, there are really three parts to it. One is introduction of basics about working in industry. The second is lectures by people from industry. So, we will be inviting some 6 to 8 lecturers from industry to come and share with you their experiences of being a chemical engineering industry and also recruiting chemical engineers to industry. And the third part is case studies of applying what we are talking about to actual industry problems and how you arrive at solutions based on a translation of what you are hearing here in classrooms. So, those are the 3 major components of this course. So, for example, under basics we would cover what is the Indian chemical industry, what is the global chemical industry, what are their characteristics, what are typical chemical engineering jobs and career paths, and how can you position yourself best. There is even a module on interviews, how do you succeed in interviews and get hired. There will be lectures on R&D in industry and technology development, technology transfer in industry. There will be lectures on cost aspects, which is the one thing that I think a typical engineering curriculum tends to leave out. The cost of manufacturing, the cost of running a process versus how do you balance the two. So, there is something called cost engineering, there is something called value engineering, there is something called risk engineering, which people in industry are well exposed to right in the beginning, so that any decisions they make are not just based on their technical know-how, but also considerations of how it is going to affect the bottom line of the industry. That is absolutely critical in industry. And then there are also lectures on what we call technology readiness levels. This is one of the key components of this course, where we will learn that when you learn about a process in a university, the technology that you are really learning is what we call very early level. These are called TRLs, technology readiness levels. So, typically a process that you define in an academic setting rarely exceeds a TRL level of 1 or 2, whereas industry expects you to be at a much higher technology readiness level. How do you bridge these two? It is also called translating knowledge into know-how. That is another way of looking at it. You are learning a lot of basic information in classrooms, but how do you really take that and translate it into a product that you can sell, particularly at scale and large volumes with a sufficient profit margin. Those are the things that are really not covered typically in academia, but industry kind of expects you to be ready to address those aspects also the day you join. Industry wants you to be industry ready when you join, right? And that is almost a contradiction in terms, because universities are not in the business of preparing you for industry. Universities exist for imparting knowledge to you, and they prepare you for life in general, but that life could be graduate school, it could be becoming an entrepreneur, it could be going into a non-core career, it could be whatever, photography, whatever your interest is, whereas industry expects you to be ready to start contributing from day one in that particular industry. It is an unrealistic expectation, and it is easy for universities to say that is your problem, you deal with it, but then all that does is cause a disconnect between academia and industry, a gap which may never get addressed, and that can be a serious situation. So, this course will at least partially try to address this gap between academia and industry. So, these are some of the basics, and the people that we invite from industry, very senior people, experienced people from a variety of industries. We have somebody coming from Thermalay Chemicals, we have somebody coming from Technip, we have somebody coming from Saint-Gobain Research, and so on. They will bring a variety of experiences that they will share with you, and they have been on the other side. They have been in industry for several years. Many of them have had extensive interactions with academia. So, I think they will really give you a feel for what it takes to bridge this gap, and how can we best prepared for doing so as early as possible in your industry career. And then the third aspect is many of these fundamental insights that we are giving you need to be reinforced by giving you some actual examples, real life examples, case studies that you can sink your teeth into. So, these are the major components of this course, and your evaluation or your assessment will be based on two things. One is there will be a series of assignments that will be given to you during the course, and you will turn them in and they will get assessed. That will carry 50% of the grades. The end term, there is no exam per se. However, you will be expected to produce a report, and you will be given the topics towards the middle of the course, and it will be a combination of a written report and an oral presentation, because part of the skills that we hope to impart to you in this is communication skills. So, this will give us an opportunity to also assess your writing skills and your speaking skills. So, that will be the format of the course as it runs. So, we will have 3 lectures per week. So, the 3 lectures are this one, and then there is a lecture on Wednesday at 5 p.m. right, and then a third lecture which will be, so we are skipping the 9 a.m. lecture. So, the 5 p.m. on Wednesday, 12 noon on Monday, and then Thursday, is it? Thursday 10 a.m. So, those will be the 3 lectures. What else? So, I think many of the early lectures will be given by Mr. Srinivasan, because he needs to take some time off towards the middle of the semester. So, he will be leading off with most of the lectures in the first part of the course, and then I will be covering in the middle part of the course, and then we will both be here towards the end of the course. I think that is about all I wanted to say at this stage. Any questions for me before I hand over to Mr. Srinivasan? Yes.
The report you were talking about will consist of 50% total?
Yes.
So,
yeah, 50%.
Is there a distribution in what is the percentage you are giving to writing and what is the percentage?
I think let's discuss that as we go along. We have time till, I guess, middle of the semester to really define that. I will also seek your inputs on that, because see, the problem with trying to assess your presentation and writing skills is, if I only do it once, it is not fair. I mean, whereas the ideal way to do it is to do it twice. There should be an interim evaluation, feedback, and then you write a second report and give a second presentation where hopefully you have addressed all this. I was actually doing this. We used to have a course called MTech seminar course. I don't know if you still have it. So, I was handling it for 3 years, and that is the way I used to do it. So, all the students gave one seminar early and turned in a report. I reviewed them, gave back my comments, and then they came back at the end of the semester, and I judged them on the delta, how much improvement they are showing. If you are only able to do it once, I think it will be a difficult assessment to do. So, if we do give some weightage for that, it will be, I think, much lower than the weightage we will give to the technical aspect of the report. Okay, I will now invite Mr. Srinivasan to come up and say a few words.
My name is Srinivasan, and if you want to know a little bit about me, you can always visit my LinkedIn page. I think all of you have a LinkedIn page, I suppose, where what I did, what my background and all that is there. So, I will skip for the present. Straight away I want to take on with what Professor Nagarajan said, and this lady asked a question. The weightage between a report, how much is oral and that we will discuss, but I have a suggestion. See, the course purpose being kind of preparing you for what it is to be an industrial career. In that context, if you take, the most common thing that in industry is that you have an idea, you have to talk to somebody else and convince them, right. So, if we take that same, and most of our project reports will also be of creative ideas where you have to prepare and present. So, maybe my suggestion is we can present it to the class, and we can take questions from the rest of the members, and then how well you handle, obviously you yourself will know and the class will know. So, that is a very fair and realistic way of probably deciding how much should be for the written portion, how much should be for the presentation portion. Just a suggestion, but we will go along. The second point what Professor Nagarajan mentioned, that is absolutely key for the whole thing, is what is my motivation in this designing and coming to the classes. I basically come from industry, right. I worked for a long period of time. I was a product from this institution, lucky enough, and all my career I spent in industry. Typically, I have noticed there is a gradual hollowing out of the technical capability in industries across the board, and this is not only in Indian industry, this is globally. Industries as we call, whatever you call by industry, we will talk about that. There is a gradual hollowing out of the technical capabilities, this is a fact. Over 40 years I have observed. So, I am concerned that how do we take this forward. So, I am therefore, I am as an engineer, I am very keen that the next generation of engineers should have a decent opportunity, first of all to know what it is in industry, and also bring in their skills and knowledge and contributions to the workplace. So, this is one my motivation, and accordingly many of the topics you will find is written like that. The other hand, and this is where what Professor Nag said I want to relate to, is that you go and ask any industry person, company persons, or attend any seminars, HR seminars and all that, the topic for the day is how graduates who are passing out from academic institutions are not industry ready, whatever the damn thing is. So, I have noticed that actually there is a hollowing out of technical content across the company's organization, right from top to bottom. The kind of a technical competence that people had at various levels is gradually reducing. This I have witnessed. On the other hand, at least from the company side, the guys are talking about how fresh graduates are not industry ready. Can you believe this? Yeah. So, something is missing, right. So, therefore, I thought that I will design some idea. I discussed with faculty members in the department. They found that there is some consonance in whatever is being presented. So, the entire course material will run around this theme of how does one bring up his skill levels, what we have already been taught, and then also be in a position to contribute in a very useful way. So, we do not have this complaints of people not being industry ready. I believe everybody is industry ready, by the way. Okay. So, that is what it is. Now, I have got 3 small one pages which just to set the context, I will share it with you. First is this: what is going to be done over the next 30-40, I think I counted we have something like 39 lectures between now and 27th April, which is the last day. I remember the last day very clearly. So, that is the objective. Now, you can see the objective of the course is for you to get a glimpse of what it is to have a career in chemical industry. I appreciate that for all of you, this is only one of the choices. I mean, one does not, I chose after my graduation to join chemical industry, I liked it. But it is not that there is a job in chemical industry is the only career that you have the whole world ahead of you. So, if you are thinking of what it is, this will give you some good understanding of what is likely to be a career in chemical industry. And I think everybody derives joy and satisfaction when you are actually contributing your ideas and your knowledge into that, right. So, that is to all of us. So, you can also learn how to translate what you have already learnt into applications which are useful for chemical industry. I have to here say that whatever you have learnt in your BTech level, I think it is more than sufficient for you at this point of time. Now, some of you who have chosen to do masters, you will read and understand the subjects in a little more depth, in a little more context. From 2 dimensions you will probably analyze problems in 3 dimensions and so on, but there is no new concept as it is that you do not require apart from what you have already been taught. And if you know that, I think you can make a very successful career in chemical industry. So, that is what is the objective of this course likely to be. The topics that we will discuss with is like this. Basically, if you are going to look at chemical industry, you should know what the animal is, what it is about. So, apart from whatever comes in the newspapers, I think this will give you a real practical and objective view of what it is, the characteristics of the chemical industry. Obviously, these days you can't talk only about Indian and global, they are interlinked. So, it will have some mix of what are the trends happening in global industry and therefore, what is the impact on Indian chemical industry. So, that is a broad context setting. This is a very important part, do not miss it, because this will set the context, and like I can see from my last 40 years a lot has changed in the world. So, in your times when it comes, there is likely to be a lot of change, but some of the trends and principles that go through will by and large be the same. Therefore, this is a very important thing for you to understand what the context is. So, that is we are going to discuss. Then we come down to brass tacks, saying that what the hell is the job in chemical industry is, I mean what am I asked to do, and is it interesting, and what do I get career growth straight, and this is not HR talk, this will be technical talk. So, that is what I will cover. Then Professor Nag mentioned basically that cost is probably something which we are not used to at this point of time, excepting we are spending money, and but I do not think any of you would have had a formal introduction to what is cost of product, process, etc. Some of you might have done it as a elective in bachelor's level. So, this is very important in industry, everything centers around cost. Therefore, you must have a good understanding of what the cost is, and actually it takes only about 1 or 2 40-50 minutes lesson to get to know the basics, that is sufficient. So, we are going to cover that on that cost, and what the role of the engineer in the cost is, because the cost is, there are chartered accountants of course, if you want any problem you can go to them and they will analyze it for you, but in this case it is your role, your job as chemical engineer will have to have an understanding of the cost. So, therefore, that is what will be the focus of what I am going to say. Related to the cost is the finance. They may look to be the same, but there is a small difference. Cost is historical, you write down the cost of this product, cost of that and so on. Finance is how the whole life cycle of buying and selling goes in life, right, you can say. So, therefore, it is important to know the finance, because especially in chemical industry the context is chemical plants are generally very big, right, huge, and they cost a heck of a lot of money. So, you spend a lot of money upfront while building the plant, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, typically up to 7 years chemical plants take time to build. So, you are spending a lot of money for first few 5-6 years, and then hoping that over the lifetime of the project of the plant you will recoup the money back after spending all the costs, etc. Therefore, this finance and cost you must have a good understanding, again it takes 1 or 2 classes just to get the basics, that is very important. Then we will switch to say technology, research, manufacturing, licensing, patent, this kind of issues, because whatever you do, I mean surely you are not going to be very satisfied with the routine jobs. I do not think anybody wants a routine job, even if it is offered with a lot of salary, right. You may just initially do it for gaining experience, but nobody wants routine. Even the operator does not want routine jobs. I worked for 40 years, nobody wants routine. They invariably are stuck with doing routine, all right, but then later on they want some learning, experience, growth, all that. Again basic human urge. Therefore, new ideas where the research technology comes, there is a lot of ground. This will take more than 5-6 lecture lessons. So, we will deal a lot of that with that. Then I will give you, TRL is part of that. I will give some example of what we consider as mature technology today, stuff that is being made. You read it in Dryden or Open, Shreve or any book you open there, it is all written down. No? Chemical technology, I am sure one of the topics was told to you, right. Open, it is written there, you can read it, after some time you can forget it also, because it is just description of events. I will take 1 or 2 key entering and then give the story behind how it developed to the stage it got developed, in the context of how the research technology was built up to a running plant of known products, what I call matured product. I will also indicate this is not so mature about it, there are still some new things happening in the plants. So, there is nothing like everything is done and dusted, finished, you do not have to be creative about that. I will switch to then some topics which are topical, where by the time you guys come up in industry hopefully and do, there will be a lot more challenges which we did not face, but the seedings of all that is being done right now. So, I will take up emerging technologies which are on early stages of development, we will pick up some research papers. You are welcome to come with your own research paper, take up an idea which is done in the lab, and then say if this has to reach there, what are the steps involved in this, pros and cons, which will mean all that went before, right from global, local, that is where you will find everything is getting stitched together. So, that is what we will do. And lastly, 1 or 2 classes, if you choose motivated by this lecture or otherwise to take up a job, you will have to prepare a little bit for attending job interviews. I do not think that is taught, surprisingly. So, and versus you can even be taught wrong things. So, I am going to share thoughts of how to prepare for a job interview. So, that is what is going to be the broad theme of the course content. Okay. The second is just I will show and skip it. This is a more detailed one, day by day plan. I have time, yeah. This is not readable at all. Sorry about that, but this will be anyway shared with you. This gives date wise whatever I said in the broad plan, what topics, who will do what, that sort of a thing is there. So, you can go through that. I showed it with one thing is you will find lot of external speakers, some of you can read it at least in the front row. There is somewhere there is some external speaker, and Professor Nagarajan also mentioned about we are going to, of the 3-pronged way of teaching, we are also going to get some external speakers from the companies to come and talk, right. So, that will be listed here. I have a specific suggestion for that. See, usually these things can be a disaster, this external invited lectures. I am sure you have also faced it. Some guy like me is called, he is busy, and then he comes, I have to talk to students, he said, no problem. And then he comes, faces for the first time probably after 20 years meeting students, does not know exactly what to say and what the expectation is, and then starts yapping away about my company was started in 1872, it is a 300-year-old company, you know, we are globally in all the places, we are running exciting careers and all that. You are all thinking what is going on here, right. So, we wanted to avoid that. Therefore, my suggestion is we are giving the name of the companies also in this, when I share with you, you will know the name of the company. So, you will have some idea about what that company is. The individuals we know them. So, we have tried to choose people who do not get into problems like that as much as possible, but you never know. Therefore, from your side what I am going to suggest is, if you knew this plan, if you know something about the company, do prepare questions that you want to ask. And these are interspersed in such a manner you would have covered some essentials of what the course content is. So, it is not that blank. So, write it out and collect it, we will give this to the guys. Anyway, we have talked about all the external speakers, what the course content is, at least we sent it to them, I hope they read it, and they have an idea what we are trying to do. But if your questions are also prepared ahead of time, then it will actually benefit you more. This is my suggestion for that. Okay. So, that is what this is. So, this is I will share with you. There is only one more, then I will close. Okay, this is some suggestions which I think you can consider to get maximum benefit from what is being talked about. I look like a school teacher, yes, but this is from practical experience. Okay. First and of course is Professor Nagarajan and I, when I discussed, I asked in our days when I studied here, we used to have attendance. Then I believe it went through a lot of controversy and whatever. So, but anyway he said, look, in my class I do not insist on attendance at all. In fact, he mentioned that 50% is for assignments and 50% is for written report, no attendance. For me, coming from industry, this is I accept it, okay. So, no attendance, but do try and attend classes for 2 reasons. One is there are no textbooks for this. So, you can't make up by reading something else, it is just not there. Secondly, this is based on the wisdom of us, and when I write I am a member of the technical committee of the Indian Chemical Council. So, I have a lot of people with whom I talk and all that. So, we try to capture everybody's combined wisdom, then check it once again for validity and then present it. So, do try to attend the classes. Second is again going back to school teacher, do take notes, because human mind being what it is, and especially in this topic, it is a mind. Something will look very interesting and exciting to you. So, we always think much faster than we speak or we write, everybody. So, your mind may get into a journey, there are 20 people thinking about 20 different aspects of the same problem. This is real. Therefore, by taking notes, you will at least, you may miss out something on talking, does not matter, you can always ask me, I am going to give you that, but you will be forced to write down. For example, when he spoke, I wrote down this question, what he said, industry ready, Nagarajan used some word, no, then that triggered in me, I wrote it down, I am able to connect and talk to you about that. So, do have this, some of you are very versatile in electronic gadgets, you can do, people like me with a pen and notebooks I am used to, but do take notes, this will be helpful for you to reflect back and then raise clarification questions, or you may even bring some point of view to the class, either in the classroom or outside the classroom. So, that is one suggestion. Third is of course participation. Now, what is participation is, with others in the class also I consider it as participation. That means, among yourself if some discussion goes on, I do think it is a good participation, because this opportunity may not come, different people are in different batches and different core. Very hard for anybody outside the classroom and again meet together and talk about it, right. In bachelor's degree somehow that happens naturally, you have a couple of friends, you are mostly with the same group, so you can interact. Here it is, we are come to a senior level, therefore we pick and choose. Therefore, do try to participate among yourself in whichever form you want, and also with faculties, so that it does not land up as a one way talk. One discipline that both of us have, Nagarajan and I, exactly cut off at 45-50 minutes, we do not want to take more time, but we will give you our contact, so that you can always call back, especially with, if you have taken notes in smaller groups or one to one, and say I did not get it or I did not agree to that, whatever it is. So, that is what is participation. In fact, if some of you can help create a Google group mail, you can post it into that simply, sometimes you may not be able to physically meet. So, post into that, I will try to endeavor to answer the questions to the best of my ability, right. So, that everybody knows what the other person is thinking, and like I said, this is not a competitive examination where somebody comes out with a patentable idea, the other fellow is lost. So, it is just knowledge for everybody, right. Okay. This course is not an easy course, because Nagarajan smilingly said that if you have taken it for the purpose, it is a cool course, that is what he said. It is a cool course, that is why I take it, I think it is very cool, but it is a demanding course. For every 1 hour of class lecture that you attend, minimum of 3 you may have to spend outside to be able to get benefited there. But I hope to make it as interesting to you as possible, it is not a drudgery, it is something which you like. Therefore, factor that into account, you will require a lot of time to get justice by reading outside. Now, here I find, now luckily I think we are on physical classes, so central library is open. Do depend on internet, but do not only depend on internet, because internet has got all sorts of information. There is no quality control on what comes out in internet, right. Therefore, take the habit of reading reference books. Our central library has this, my favorite is Kirken-Othmer, I think you have heard about this Encyclopedia of Chemical Technology. There are a couple of other chemical technology. Occasionally go through that and read about it. So, it's helpful there. Then read some industry magazines. I don't know, I think most of you must be reading some technical journal or other, right. Usual villains are AICHE journal, Chemical Engineering Science. These used to be, whether I understood it or not in my student days, I used to go and read it, all this double integrals and calculus. So, pick some industry magazines at this point of time. I have given some suggestion. These are available in our library, central library there. The first one is especially very, very useful, Chemical Weekly. It specifically focuses on Indian chemical industry. It also covers global news. Like I said, global and local have to be together in these days. So, this Chemical Weekly is an Indian magazine. It is about 52 issues a year. It comes in hard copy also. It is a digital copy also is available, 1,200 rupees. So, I think our library subscribes it. You can read this Chemical Weekly. That's a very good thing to read to that. Rest of them are international magazines. Just pick occasionally read through that. It's nice to read that. Got a lot of information. Then I recommend some general reading of books. Invariably, especially some of you, if you imagine yourself after 4 years, 5 years, nobody will want to do only, like I said, routine jobs, right? So you will land up in management at some point of time or other. I landed up in management like that. I was only a BTech from here. I joined some company, and within 6 or 7 years, when I used to come for campus, enjoy myself, I became management. This happens to most of the people there. So it is not like there is a separate management cadre and there is a technical cadre. They will merge. So it is nice to have some broader view of what is happening. I am sure all of you are interested. So the 3 books is my favorites. The first is a small book. It's very provocatively titled, right? You can see it's a very interesting provocatively titled there. This guy is a chemical engineer. He joined Microsoft as a project manager developing software, and then now he is a freelancer. He writes that book, very nicely written. I liked it. You might like to read through that. Second is a tome, big one, 900 pages, and it is a classic. If you want to be considered to be all those BCG and Goldman Sachs and McKinsey types, that is the book for you. But surprisingly, this book is well written also. That is why I recommend that. There are a lot of jargon sometimes goes through that. This is a fabulously well written book. This guy is a professor of management in Harvard, and this is a classic of last 35 years. It is very nice. We are going to talk about cost, competition, so this book is very useful. If you can afford it, I would recommend you should buy a book and keep it, because it is an investment for the next 25 years. So, brilliant book. Third is a light hearted book. Again, title is very provocative, Reinventing Discovery. So, it is something, this creativity is endless, he wants to capture. So, it is a very nice book. Last 2 points, assignments do submit it in time, please. This is more from my personal request, because there is a hell of a lot of job for us in preparing this course. I do it love of labor. Like I said, my motivations are, on the one hand, I find I enjoyed my stint in chemical industry, by the way. I enjoyed it. I had a very satisfactory career. But gradually over the years, I have found that it is hauling out. So I put in a lot of heart into this. Hopefully you will like it. No reason you should take my word for it, go through that, but do submit in time, because correction doing seriously takes a lot of time, because this is not a mathematical problem where there is a correct answer, right, for assignments. You will not be like that. So it is not easy to have a template and put it on top of that. All this tick means, right, I have to read every single sentence of what you write. I do that. So it takes a lot of effort. So if I get all bunched and I have planned it out very well, it is very hard on me. So that is why I request you, please submit your assignments on time, and also assignment meaning quiz also on this. Last is obvious, if you do not have time in the class, sometimes it is 45 minutes is, you rush a lot of topics, so you may not have time, but at least outside the class make use of this Google group or whatever it is, interact and ask. So that is what is the some tips for do's. I think we are 42, so 2-3 minutes, time for us to stop. Once again, welcome you all for this course. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed preparing for that. And the next class we are going to have tomorrow, right? Tomorrow.